It's Victor speaking, and I'm here again with Leslie because, as we promised in the previous video, that we are going to be making a sign-based prediction for each of the rising sign as well. So, what to expect in regards to Saturn ingresses into the sign of Aquarius. So, if you did not listen to the previous video, then you will be able to. I'm going to put the link below. I think it's full of great information, so have a listen and then let us know how you feel about Saturn generally on a world scale, how you feel about entering the sign of Aquarius, what you expect from it, and so forth. I would love to hear your opinion of, over that. Hi, Leslie. How are you?
Pretty good, Victor. Pretty good.
Good.
I'm using my Pisces imagination goggles to picture you with us here.
Oh yeah, I'm really sorry, but seriously, with this face, I cannot go on camera. But I'm gonna go out on Monday, and I think I'm gonna get something to be able to shave off this jungle of my face, so I look a little bit more presentable.
All good, all good. We all can picture you and just, even with your voice, we'll get through this all together. But yeah, I'm just grateful to be able to speak with you again on this. And so we're going to get to it because Saturn wants us to be responsible and get right to the topic. Saturn has a 29 and a half year cycle. So, he goes through each sign and he's, kind of like slowly making these changes, or first observing like what's happening in each of these houses, and making changes with the things that no longer serve that house or that aspect of your life, or just the way that you're approaching this theme or this area of life. And so I like it because it's like a measured like progression over time. Saturn really makes us mature and step up to the plate and kind of make those changes, because he is also the father of time. He kind of checks on us and is saying, are we on time with this project here, or this mission of life, or this part of the journey? So I put that into perspective in my notes and what I was writing out for today's video. And what came to mind too, because of the Aquarius energy, is that Aquarius is authentic, is the most authentic sign. It's about liberation and freedom and uniqueness. And so with Saturn being in Aquarius, it's about standing in our authenticity, having a firm ground in who we are as the individual, and then tying in that other Aquarius aspect is like, getting that individual right, so that we can, give back to humanity, in any which way that we can. So Saturn really realigns us with that. And I was going to just go ahead and start with Aries.
Yeah, let's go with Aries.
Yeah. So Saturn will be in the 11th house of groups, organizations, rules like social media and the internet in itself, and it rules charities, and also the gains from the 10th house. So we could be seeing some rewards there from some hard work that we've put into the 10th house, and the 10th house is our status and our reputation and our work, like getting up that mountain. So the 11th house could be receiving those rewards. And also Saturn rules that 10th house as well. So I was thinking also, it may bring restrictions to friendship groups, because Saturn can kind of dry out a certain area. So, maybe groups that you were connecting with probably are no longer in line with what you kind of see yourself and your goals and aspirations. Like your friends may not be helping you get towards that goal. So you may be like, cutting some friends out, or just restricting yourself from hanging out too much and focusing on, just continuing to build. What else? I was thinking that also Chiron is in the first house too. So I was thinking like, this Aries energy could really be taking responsibility and healing, the past wounds, so that they can become a better leader. you know, and with Saturn being up there in the 10th and 11th house, it's about like leadership and how you're being, how people view you. So I was thinking that, you know, bringing in that Chiron in, and, you know, just that aspect in itself, you know, it can really like, especially because Saturn will be um, sextiling the Chiron, it will probably bring opportunities to heal that parts of self to show up as a better leader, which is Aries. And I was also going to bring in Uranus as well, because, you know, this transit lasts for two to 2.5 years. So, you know, this is what Aries will be kind of observing throughout the Saturn's time here. And Uranus is squaring Saturn. So there might be changes to the values to Aries. Aries might be restructuring, or, you know, just radical changes may be coming to the house of values because of Uranus, you know, kind of wanting to break free from some sort of financial structure, maybe wanting financial freedom, but probably being restricted by an organization too, because it's a square to Saturn. So how do you feel? Like, do you have any thoughts about that?
Oh, plenty, as usual. But you know, what I like about Saturn being in the sign of Aquarius is that Saturn is in a rulership, which we all know, but we need to remember that Aquarius is a male energy. And Saturn is actually a male planet. So it talks about, actually, we also call, or I usually call Saturn as the daddy planet. Because what is the daddy's role? Basically, it's all about bringing discipline and order into your life, right? So Saturn can represent here that maybe some type of relationship with paternal figures in your life could be also kind of cut away. But you did mention something which I think is very important, that the 11th house rules the long-term goals. And because Saturn was previously in the sign of Capricorn, which is a female energy, Saturn could sometimes struggle there, because female energies are all about energies being lived through within your soul. It's more like an internalized feeling. And now, stepping into the sign of Aquarius, it's all about pushing those energies out of my system and then focusing on things which really matters.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Aries rising sign could actually grow to understand their role in the society, which is 11th house, but also maybe in your family dynamics as well. You might be receiving, you did mention Chiron, and actually I do believe that Aries rising sign might be receiving the possibility of mending past issues, for instance, parental figures, or any type of authority figures as well. And we know Aquarius is an innovative sign. So actually, Saturn here becomes more like a mental planet, and it's more about the researching type of energy. So it's all about researching, you know, what could, oh, you've got a lovely cat behind you, don't get scared. And it's a black cat as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so
I hope it doesn't, you know, talk too much with us in the Saturn Aquarius talk here.
oh yeah, sure. Black, well, Saturn rules the color black, so it's just about time for your cat to pop in
You
the picture.
disappeared.
So yeah, so Saturn is more like an innovative Saturn here, and I feel like he can manifest a lot more for Aries rising sign in regards to their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Saturn crystallizes, materialize things. So I feel like Aries rising sign people just need to be waking up and then going towards their long-term goal.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about Taurus?
So for Taurus, this Saturn will be in the 10th house of career and status and reputation. Gains from the 9th house of learning, you know. So Taurus rising could have gone to school for something within this past actually throughout the time that Saturn was in Capricorn. And, you know, now they're really willing or able to implement what they've learned to see the fruits from that. maybe and then taking on new responsibilities to, you know, continue building that foundation for their, you know, longevity. Um, and Yes, that, you know, like you said, Saturn is, you know, materializing, you know, so it manifests, it brings those rewards, you know, like sometimes, you know, we can feel like the higher octave and the lower octave of these planets. And sometimes when we feel too much restrictions, I feel like that is, you know, really us restricting ourselves, and then it manifests, you know, in the outside, in the external world. So I feel like when we do feel those rewards, is because we face the reality that Saturn placed upon us, and we're seeing, though, you know, that hard work through climbing up that mountain slowly but surely. Um, and I was thinking that, you know, with Cancer being the first, you know, this being the Cancer first house, you know, Cancer is about, um, you know, feeling good and being comfortable. So this Saturn may kind of take you out of your comfort level just a little bit, make you, you know, kind of show up to your responsibilities. But
Sorry,
Cancer is a
Cancer
really,
is on the fourth house cusp.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking about. I was looking at something else on my sheet. So Taurus, you know, Taurus is actually a little stubborn, you know. So Taurus can really, you know, kind of resist, you know, some changes, and especially because your Uranus is in the first house too, you know. Taurus can be going through a lot of, you know, conflict within themselves, because Uranus kind of wants to bring in these new innovations within the self, and Taurus kind of wants things to go a little slowly if they're not like agreeing with it at first. You know, it may not say yes right away, but slowly but surely it will make those changes. So with Uranus and the Saturn squaring, I was actually thinking about the parental axis as well, because that Saturn will be in the 10th house. You know, maybe they're, you know, seeing like responsibilities at home or responsibilities with the career, but with the Uranus in the first house, that may also want them. May want to break free from some of that. But all in all, you know, Uranus is just trying to get you to that authentic self, and breaking free from those, you know, limiting, you know, just ways of thinking, and maybe even being stubborn can be limiting as well. So Uranus and Saturn square can make you like, you know, adjust, you know, maybe even putting your business online or something like that, especially in these times. I'm sorry, going back to that Saturn in the 10th, you know, in Aquarius, you could be thinking about, you know, getting your business on an online platform. And maybe Uranus in that first house is like, you know, making you break free from some fears, you know, for in order for you to do that, you know, maybe some old ways of thinking that don't really align you to what's happening in the time. So Uranus is making you break free, and Saturn is making you restructure in that 10th house of, you know, what you're building for yourself.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what I like about Saturn in the 10th house is that actually Saturn rules the 10th house in general. And
Mm-hmm.
Saturn is in highest position at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in a heavenly house, right? So that's the highest point of the sky. So actually, if Saturn puts the hard work into any type of project, into their social status, then actually I feel like Saturn can really manifest. It could be talking about promotion, for instance. It could be talking about starting, for instance, a new job. But I also recommend to people to have a look at the natal position of their Saturn, because if they have got a weak Saturn, and weak Saturn is considered to be, for instance, in the sign of Cancer, or it's not necessarily doing too great in any type of water houses or water signs either. So if you've got a weak Saturn in your chart, not too well placed, then, you know, unfortunately, it could be bringing in some parental issues as well. Their health could be, for instance, afflicted. And as you said, actually, this could be the case because Uranus is going to be squaring that. Saturn from the first house, which is the house of body. We do need to remember that Saturn is all about seriousness. And when it comes to the 10th house, definitely he requires a very devoted approach from you to any type of career matters. And you know, once you show devotion, then the reward comes around. But you need to put the time, effort into all these things. And then you change your life for quite a time, at least for 7 years, I would say. Now, another thing which we need to mention here is that basically Saturn rules your 9th house. Be careful about blockages, for instance, in foreign countries. You might be actually meeting a guru who you want to learn from. That's also a possibility. And because you've got a Taurus rising sign, also pay attention to your financials as well. We do know that Saturn is all about restriction, and it's all about mastering some of the skills. And one of the best skills Taurus usually have is something to do with financials. Now, because it's in the sign of Aquarius, which is full of ideas, Saturn wants you to pick only 1 or 2 ideas here and not having plenty. Right? Because at the end of the day, Uranus is also the second ruler of Aquarius as well. And now those 2 planets are in angular houses, having a little bit of a debate. How do you feel about Gemini rising people?
Gemini rising, this Saturn is going to be in the 9th house of philosophy, foreign travel, religion, beliefs, higher education. Well, that would be long distance travel as well. You know, Saturn can be bringing, kind of asking you to go back to school or restructure your philosophies, restructure your thinking when it comes to, like the bigger picture, expanding your mind. And one way that we expand our minds is through travel or just education. So Saturn can really make you kind of hone in and discipline, because Gemini does have so many thoughts and ideas, so Saturn here can kind of bring structure to, like, okay, but what is the higher idea, what is your mission or your direction or your beliefs. And Gemini is a writing sign, is a teaching sign as well. And this can also ask Gemini to take it serious to become a teacher, maybe study more to teach what it is that you want to teach, about philosophies, or just anything that you're really just wanting to expand other people's minds the way that you've expanded your mind. This is also the house of publishing as well. So I can see Gemini's a writer. So, publishing could definitely be, kind of like restrictions with it, or maybe just, just gaining responsibilities to put something out there during this time as well. This is, just learning anything that's new age and Aquarian as well. Or, Saturn also rules the 8th house, so something like occult subjects. Or learning about financials, or even like anything to do with psychology as well. Uranus will be in the 12th house squaring. So that rules the subconscious, the unconscious. Like, these are like unconscious and conscious houses, like what we think and believe in and what's kind of buried underneath. So this might bring new insights, freedom from the self-undoing habits, messages in dreams as well. What you're discovering within yourself may challenge or change your beliefs, is what I was thinking about with that Uranus and Saturn square. How do you feel?
Saturn could indicate fear in your chart. And I find it a little bit funny position for Saturn to be in the 9th house, because 9th house is pretty much something to do with the expansion of mind. That's something to do with your belief system. Obviously, we're talking about a Jupiterian energy here. And I feel like Saturn is going to try to regulate the person's belief system. maybe again taking things a little bit more serious or reconnecting with the divine power. Let's not forget that Saturn rules the eighth house also here. So, and eighth house is all about occult studies. If you are planning, for instance, Gemini, to invest your money into foreign fields, really have a look at your Saturn's condition in the natal chart. You know, because that could be giving, sorry, that could be giving you a clue about, you know, whether it's worthy or not this time around. Um, you know, ninth house talks about your philosophy. So I feel like with that Saturn, it's all about mastering your own theories. And then maybe even you can spread it, right? Ninth house is all about, as you said, publishing and pretty much about writings as well to a certain extent, which Gemini rising loves anyway. So it could be an indication that you do need to be kind of forcing your belief system to be dismantled. You know, you might have gone through some type of tragic loss for searching a soulmate connection, which is pretty much about eighth house energy again. So, and then if it didn't work out the way you wanted to, just move on. That's exactly what Aquarius talks about. Emotionally detaching yourself from something which does not work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, ninth house is all about the meaning to life. So if you've got Saturn going through your ninth house, actually it might be finding your life purpose. It might be seeking experiences which can expand your consciousness, for instance. And, you know, in my opinion, Saturn also is like a balloon popper. So it is going to be giving you an element of hint that the way you have been thinking is not right. And that's exactly coming also from Uranus as well, as you mentioned, from the 12th house.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's going to be time for Gemini to rationalize things a little bit, especially of the conscious mind.
Get serious about their thinking, because Gemini can be a little scattered sometimes, pulling in information, almost absorbing information like a sponge, but now it's like Saturn is asking you to like get rooted in your beliefs. What are those beliefs, and really questioning that within the self.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what Cancer might be experiencing.
So now for Cancer, we have Cancer in the 8th house. And the 8th house rules psychology and the occult subjects. It rules sex and intimacy and the deeper parts of ourselves, the shadow, other people's money. So, how like they value you, the money that you receive from other people, but also your partner's money and values as well. And what else? So I was thinking that, Saturn here is, taking responsibility with debt, because this also rules the house of debt and loans. Taking responsibility with that because, when Saturn moves into the 9th house, you may want to invest some money in learning something new or doing some sort of travels. So Saturn in the 8th house can really have you kind of restricting and sacrificing certain comfort foods, maybe for Cancer, restricting certain things just so that you can get to an ultimate goal of achieving, kind of some sort of financial debt-free stability. You and your partner could be restructuring, your finances together, consolidating, it's going to feel like restrictions, but it's ultimately to get you to the next step, and to really fix, and align yourself, because Saturn wants us to prepare for what's next. And so if something isn't right here, he's going to have you clean up the mess. So Saturn makes you, kind of just do the chores and take on those responsibilities and really face reality. So here, it could definitely be, some financial, things going on, especially with the economic, situation that we're in. But also because Cancer is such an intuitive sign, this is the eighth house. So I was thinking that, this is like, mastering the psyche, through, kind of going into your internal self and the shadows and digging deep. Sometimes, maybe you're going to restrict yourself from intimacy, but that's only because you're kind of questioning how you want to get intimate, or if there's anything that needs to change with that. Maybe bring some structure to that. And some structure and understanding and lessons, because it's a karmic lessons planet. So yeah, Cancer can really, be facing some realities when it comes to intimacy, but ultimately it's really just going to help them get deeper into their own subconscious and understand the other people's subconscious. So this could also be relating to them getting into like studies of psychology and helping people with that. Maybe even getting onto some online platforms that talk about, study groups that talk about psychology and just, new age or different like occult topics as well. And then Uranus is going to be squaring eventually next year from Taurus in the 11th house. So, possibly because you're going through this like internal, like understanding of yourself on a deeper level, maybe those groups that you were once associated with, they just don't fall in line with what you believe in anymore about yourself. So, you probably are going to be breaking free from some groups that you used to hang around with or be a part of, and finding new groups that are going to be more aligned to, just getting you to your authentic self even more. I was also thinking like, money being restricted from the groups, because the 11th house is also the money that you gain from your career. So you may, have some restrictions with money coming that way as well. And so there's just going to be some restructuring and some new, ways and ideas, Aquarius, bringing in that, that insight. And Uranus is also the flashes of insight that can help you get you to the future, build that bridge from now to the future. How do you feel?
I also believe that Saturn is going to come here and serve you as a reminder, about your unhealthy attachments. It's going to be asking you the question, what type of obsessions and addictions you've got, which you don't need anymore. And the question is that something relating, for instance, to your relationship?
Yeah.
Because Saturn rules also the 7th house here. And, you might feel the pressure, especially, I would say, the beginning of the transit, to kind of get answers for any type of deep matters. 8th house rules, as you said, psychology, but it also rules, it also rules trust issues. It also rules infidelity. The question here is that, how is your self-worth, Cancer, at the moment? Because if you project negative energy out of yourself, then you are going to be attracting those. You might be very sensitive, at the moment, because you feel that you are in a deepest level of your life, and then you are trying to get out of it. But it's all about letting go of any unhealthy attachment, what you have got in your life. And the unhealthy attachment could be where your natal Saturn is placed in your chart. If it's something to do with, for instance, 5th house, then maybe it's something to do with sex. Maybe it's something to do with letting go of some gambling, for instance, and so forth. So you really need to look into that Saturn a lot deeper. Now, 8th house, apart from intimate relationship, but it does really rule anything to do with sexuality as well. So have you noticed that maybe something needs to be changing in your intimate relationship? Because Saturn can come around here and then become a master, becoming a teacher, and wanting to show you that one of the reasons why things are not working out, because the intimacy between your partner with your partner is not necessarily that great anymore. You know, Saturn could bring, unfortunately, sexual dysfunction here. Yeah. And yeah, as you said, I think Cancer rising sign gonna have to watch out for financial matters, because we shouldn't be forgetting that this is the partner's money. So actually, the partner could be going through some type of financial restructuring, and maybe you need to consider helping somehow your partner, maybe not relying on the partner's earnings so much anymore, because that could be a little bit of a trouble there. But I also believe that Saturn is going to ask you the question, how are you handling power? You know, eighth house rules power, and as you said, Uranus is squaring it. So are you losing the power over a group of people, or you are still wanting to be, you know, in the driving seats? Saturn might indicate here that you can't control everything. You can't control a group of people, because actually maybe they gang up against you and then wanting to tell you something. So you're going to have to build on your listening skills, which is pretty much about, again, an Aquarian energy. How do you feel about Leo rising?
Leo rising. This Saturn is in the 7th house for you guys. So the 7th house rules partnerships, business, and personal contracts. You know, Leo can rule the stage, and so the 7th house, you know, could be the audience. And as well as, you know, maybe even some known enemies, because it's like the house of opposition, you know, just an opposition of self, and what that, you know, how that manifests. And so Saturn here can bring restriction and restructure to, you know, just the relationship in itself. Maybe because Saturn rules the 6th house of work and daily routines, there might have been some added responsibilities with the day-to-day life. And so it's restricting the connection with partnership, or just having you, you know, just kind of think about how you can restructure the balance, the work-life balance between, you know, what you have going on in a day-to-day life, and, you know, just giving that time to the partner. This also can be, you know, probably feeling restricted by a partnership. You know, a lot of times, you know, you can see divorce happening during this time, or separation happening in this time. With Saturn in the 7th house, but that's just because, you know, either your partner could be more of that Saturnian energy that's kind of demanding, you know, like more from you, or you know, you yourself could probably be thinking like, what do I really want from relationships? Is this relationship really fitting, you know, and meeting my needs? You know, Aquarius can be like an unconventional type of energy, so Saturn can actually bring structure to that unconventional, style of being and interacting. So, you know, maybe, you know, you have Aquarius in the 7th house, and you know, don't live with your partner. You guys choose to live separately, even though you've been together for a long time. And Saturn could probably, you know, ask you to consolidate and come together, you know, to, you know, help each other for future endeavors, and get yourself, you know, to the next level, each, you know, individually. But that's a way that it can probably kind of feel like it's restricting, like you having to, like, you know, be in the same space with a partner that you probably weren't with in the past, or didn't spend that much time together. So but it could definitely have you reevaluate, you know, what those partnership needs are, whether it is, you know, interpersonal, or, you know, just, or you know, intimate or not. What's going to add that Uranus is in the 10th house, and you know, this is the 10th house of, you know, the business, you know, so this could be you having the ability now to start your business, and it kind of causing some sort of tension with the partnership, you know, like all your you all of a sudden have the opportunity to start something, and then you have less time for the partnership. Or because of this new partnership, you've been given the opportunity to start something with your business, but they have to go hand in hand. I feel like you're really going to have to find a balance here between work and relationships.
Yeah. What came to my mind is that I think one of the biggest questions around Saturn being in the seventh house is that how lonely you feel. And it doesn't matter whether you've got a relationship or not, because you can have a relationship and then you might still feel lonely. So the question is, what type of groundwork my relationship needs in order for me not to feel lonely? And we shouldn't be forgetting that Saturn also rules the sixth house. So potentially, unfortunately, the partner we can have some illnesses going on as well. How do you feel about Virgo Rising?
Virgo Rising, this is happening in the sixth house of lifestyle, day-to-day habits and routines, pets, exercise, diet, health, and service. A friend of mine just had this happen, and he's been on a spiritual journey for such a long time. And once Saturn hit his sixth house, he had lost like 100 pounds or something like that. And I feel like Saturn, wants us to, in the sixth house, wants us to be prepared to give back and to, and that requires us to have a good, healthy foundation, to be okay in our body so that we have the energy to be of service. And so I was just telling him, you had to get physically strong, to match that spiritual and mental vibration. So Saturn here, it can bring on some health issues, but it can also have you learn how to take care of yourself a little better, have you learn how to be more disciplined in your routine, and restructure so that you can, really just take care of yourself and your family and your partnerships and, just everyone else around you. How can you take care of yourself better so that you can serve better? And so Saturn rules the fifth house as well. So, maybe, restrictions with, like maybe dating or something like that. Maybe it has you like a little suppressed or depressed during your day-to-day life. And, like maybe you're, just receiving some restrictions with, what makes your heart happy at this time. So you're, Saturn doesn't want you to go backwards. It wants you to go forwards. It's saying, all right, well, just focus your energies on what you need to accomplish in this time. What are your, I feel like the sixth house is like day-to-day goals versus like 10th house and 11th house is like those long-term goals. So, Saturn here can really have you, become the master of planning, and getting your ducks in a row so that you're able to, take that strength from and learning, how to kind of mature yourself a little bit and bringing that to the external world, because the sixth house is like the last house of the internal world, so the seventh house starts, the partnerships and everything outside of you. So I feel like Saturn here is just kind of like, just fixing all those loose ends, tying up all those loose ends before you can then go out and give your energy to the rest of the world.
Oh, that was a very nice interpretation. I hardly have got anything to add, and that rarely happens. But, just maybe a couple of words here, because sixth house rules the lifestyle. Saturn could come here and then tell you that your lifestyle needs to be changing. Somehow you're going to have to start thinking about how I can balance up work, which is the sixth house energy, with my desire to have fun as well in my life, because Saturn does rule your fifth house, which talks about fun. If you want to take a new job on, then maybe this is going to be the period of time when you have to start thinking about it. If you are thinking about having your own business, maybe you want to be going for it. Again, a good piece of advice: have a look at how your Saturn looks like in the natal chart, and then And then that could give you an answer whether it's a worthy time now or not. But the question Saturn is going to be asking you is, are you using your your time the best possible way? How do you manage your everyday activities? And sixth house is connected to the body as well. Now we're talking about Virgo rising sign. Consider anything to do with sports. Consider anything to do with maybe um, a body cleansing. And the reason being is because Saturn actually rules spring clean. And you can have so much poison, got stuck in your body, and it's about time to let those go off.
Yep. Maybe even like including like acupuncture or just like new ways of healing as well, and also I forgot to mention that Uranus is in that ninth house of, the beliefs and higher education and religion and just, like our one of those conscious houses. And I feel like, you may have some breakthroughs with some of the beliefs that you've had and you've had like a foundation on. And so once you have those breakthroughs, you're able to like, incorporate that and implement that in your day-to-day life. And you may be learning new ways of healing. Aquarius is a great researching sign. So, this Virgo rising may kind of try different things to see what works, but Saturn is probably going to pick one or two of those things and really structuralize it. And maybe that's the way that Virgo is the sign of health and service, so possibly health could be part of a service mission for Virgo risings. And this Saturn here is going to have you restructuralize like how you view health, what you're doing with health, and how you can kind of give back, whether it's just to your neighbor or getting on an online platform like this, but there is something about service and health and connecting those two with Virgo rising for this. So just wanted to
exactly
add that.
Saturn doesn't like fluff. So Saturn always talks about the minimum, the bare minimum. So when it transits the sixth house, it means that you just need to work the bare minimum. Work smart but not hard. Make sure that the engine, which is actually by Capricorn, it's going to be your spine. And also because it rules the fifth house, it's the heart. All those are pumped up with enough energy, And then actually Virgo rising sign might be experiencing backaches. And backache actually talks about, depending on what part of the back you've got the ache actually going on. But let's say if it's the lower part of the back, somewhere around your waistline, then it usually talks about somehow fear of the past. And somehow the past is haunting you. If this pain is somewhere in the middle, then you are worried about your present. And when it's somewhere on the top part, you are scared of future, what the future brings to you. And the fear just generates anxiety, and then the anxiety generates health issues. So Virgo rising sign this time around, in the next couple of years, watch out for this.
That's interesting because the low back rules the sacral chakra, and that's the emotional memory. So if you have that back pain down, in the low back, you're probably just holding on to past emotional hurts, and that in the middle of the back is the solar plexus, and it's us feeling present in our bodies and feeling present in our mission and who we are, understanding our identity. So that kind of correlates with what you were saying. And then the future, that's like the heart chakra. And at least that part of the back. And, like maybe, you're afraid to love again, or you're afraid to open your heart to something new, and that's why you have that pain there. That's the way I make the correlations. Kind of makes sense.
That's a fantastic correlation, surely. And as you mentioned, Uranus is attacking Saturn from the ninth house, and it's all in your mind. Virgo, you are creating yourself unnecessary things. That's why Saturn is asking you to make that spring clean.
Yes. Yep. And Uranus is giving you, Uranus is, liberating you from anything that's holding you back, So definitely, meditate with that energy, meditate with the Saturn in the sixth and the Uranus in the ninth, so that you can, break free from those limiting beliefs that probably has affected your health for a while, and really just take ownership of that.
I feel like we really dig deep into Virgo's life, so let's move on to Libra rising.
Like I feel like we have to go add something to each sign, but
yes, I had that kind of feeling as well. Now I feel a little bit, ashamed of not sharing so much. But on the other hand, we do need to remember the 6th and the 12th house are the hardest one to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So having Saturn come into the 6th house is a big deal. We do need to talk about it.
Yes.
So let's have a look at Libra's experiences.
Okay. So Libra, the Saturn is going to be in the 5th house. So that 5th house rules children, romance, heart desires, the will of the heart. It's a lucky house in astrology as well. So Saturn will bring structure to that creativity. It will bring longevity to how we use our talents. It may bring also restrictions to romance. Saturn also rules the 4th house as well. So, maybe, within the family, like maybe, there's just like a lot of responsibility, and it just kind of is weighing heavy on your heart. So it doesn't feel like you're able to really open that heart chakra and be that kid again and enjoy the time with your kids or your spouse. Things may feel a little heavy right now. But it's really, Saturn can really have you focus on your gifts and your talents, and restructure that so that you can kind of build some kind of long-term foundation on that. So if you're someone that Libra is an extremely talented sign, so it's about the arts, So if you're kind of feeling bored in life, or just feeling like some sort of suppression, maybe it's not about doing a whole bunch of things. Maybe it's about focusing on one sacred talent and gift that you have within yourself that really fuels your passions and your heart's desires, and is able to manifest something for you long term. I was going to see, let's see what I wrote about Uranus. Also I was thinking like online dating may be an option here, because we're not able to really go out right now. So if you're feeling like a little bored and are single and feel like you're being restricted because you can't go out, this could be a time to do some online dating if have never done it before. Just to talk and ease your mind a little bit. And then Uranus is in the 8th house. And so, there could be some freedom from, some trauma, some psychological wounds, digging deep. Well, you'll be kind of like, maybe something will happen, that kind of like makes you understand, like, oh, whoa, I've been, kind of projecting these feelings that I haven't really worked with onto my lover, onto my kids, or maybe like, oh, I'm not really able to, have as much fun because there's a wound there that's kind of blocking me. Like maybe if I work on this, work on that Uranus Saturn square in that way, where you're, the Uranus is going to be bringing flashes of insight in that 8th house of like, that intimacy, or just, the way that you connect really deeply to yourself and other people. And it'll bring some insight so that when Saturn is there restructuring, it can, kind of bring balance and say, all right, well, I do have a tight schedule, but maybe I can fit in this time to play with my kids, or just have this time for some inner play and some inner fun. How do you feel about that?
Yes, Saturn ruling the 4th house, what I'm really thinking about is that it's going to be restructuring the whole family life. And maybe it's something to do with maybe it's something to do with your soul purpose as well, because we shouldn't be forgetting that the 5th house originally is a Leo house. Now the sun talks about the purpose of your life, what makes your heart sing. And Saturn can come here and then trying to serve you a reminder that you are not fulfilling your destiny. It's about time to step on the road what you really want to achieve. Now, because fifth house could be talking about your creative talent as well as something to do with your own businesses. Watch out for your own businesses. Watch out for your own business. Make sure that you don't necessarily invest into projects you are not 100% sure about. And the reason being is because Uranus is squaring from the eighth house, which is the house of investment. Now, in traditional astrology, actually, fifth house rules sex, and Saturn can bring around some type of blockages in that department. Libra rising sign, you might be feeling stuck in regards to relationship. You might have been looking for a partner for quite a long time now. And it's all about being creative about it, putting yourself out there, and then basically moving every single possibility, to find that person. Because yes, true, with Saturn, it might be a little bit harder to find the relationship. But as soon as you find one with Saturn, it usually promises quite a long-lasting one as well.
Yeah.
So I would definitely be taking Leslie's advice. Maybe go online and then start chatting up some, handsome guys and girls, and then let's see how it unfolds. Because I feel like at the moment everyone is going to be withdrawn a little bit, and everyone is going to be thinking about their life purpose. And I believe Libra is going to be one of them who really going to be considering their future. Now, if you are having some difficulties of getting pregnant, for instance, now this could be actually a time of trying, especially if you've got a strong Saturn in your chart. Because we know that Saturn gives rewards. But Libra, maybe you want to be looking into your own relationship as well. Is that relationship work out the way I want it to be working out? Especially that should be the topic for you around September. And well, to be honest, not even September, from July onwards till the end of the year. Maybe your relationship is going to go through an element of restructuring. Maybe the child topic is going to come up quite often with your partner. And that's when you're going to really see whether the relationship you are in is working extremely well or not so well.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about, yeah?
I was going to even just say adding, that Uranus in the eighth house, like meditating in new ways of like, raising the levels of consciousness, or even just healing those wounds, so that when the topic of kids come up and it's uncomfortable, you have a better sense of yourself and understanding of what the journey is for you. And because sometimes you just have to heal certain aspects of yourself in order for you to manifest a child too. So, I think Uranus in the eighth house would definitely help you break free from anything that's limiting, psychologically wise.
How do you feel about Scorpio rising?
So Scorpio rising, you're having this Saturn in Aquarius in the fourth house of home, roots, domestic life, family responsibilities. It's the parents and the career axis as well. So this could be a lot of restructuring, bring a lot of restructuring to the home, maybe some new responsibilities to the home, maybe taking care of a parent, or even, Uranus is squaring from the seventh house. Is that a house of one of the grandparents?
That's right.
So I was thinking that also that could be, taking care of someone elderly. But yeah, just more responsibilities, or maybe even relocation. Really relocation, so that you can kind of take care of those responsibilities. Whether there's a new responsibility of taking care of someone, you may have to move closer to be able to do that. And Saturn rules that third house, so this could also talk about siblings as well. Maybe restructuring some sort of family foundation, or bringing in something that you learned, bringing that into the family, the family dynamic. What else? Um, just it could manifest something new for you when it comes to the home, and just kind of it just brings that focus to the home area. Maybe you're working from home and you're also seeing the dynamic between you and the people in your home as well, your relationships at home, and maybe there's like an aha moment that, okay, well, this isn't really solid, so I need to work on building a better foundation here, for us in the family. What do you think?
Especially, I would say April and May time, when Mars is going to be also around. Maybe this could be a brilliant time for Scorpio rising sign to actually settle any type of arguments, for instance, or misunderstandings with the parents they have had, or any type of, or bringing the families a little bit closer. It could be something with the third and the fourth house energies, so bringing the siblings and the aunties and so forth together, and then maybe having having a family celebration. Now we know that the Scorpio rising sign is all about transformation, and it looks like the family is going through a huge transformation this year, and then the upcoming 2.5, 3 years, well, up till about 2023. Unfortunately, in traditional astrology, in Hellenistic astrology, fourth house could talk about losing someone as well within the family. It's basically the house of death. So, and by the way, in Hellenistic astrology, it is said that the eighth house is more about other people's death. So it's about going through a transformation, probably putting your ego aside, and then working through some of the personal trauma you might have gone through. Because there is definitely the first, the fourth, and the seventh house getting activated for Scorpio here. I feel like it's the immediate family as well as the extended family what's going to be very, very important in the upcoming years.
I was
Actually, I do believe that Saturn transit in the fourth house is not necessarily associated with moving houses, for instance. It's more about making sure that the house is on good foundation. So watch out for bits and pieces like, anything to do with electricity, for instance. Are the cables good, or and so forth.
I was thinking about even healing like generational trauma. Maybe there's just something like in the family that you probably, especially like Scorpio, loves to go deep. Especially also Saturn ruling that third house of learning. Maybe they learned about a way that they can heal like generational like pains and wounds that can help them think about build a strong foundation for their family to come. That's something that also came to mind, especially with the Aquarius energy. It kind of fits.
Yes, and probably the feeling of being alone and unsupported as well. And this might be pushing the Scorpio rising people to reunite somehow, to lay the family relationship on a completely new foundation, if you like it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about Sagittarius rising?
So Sagittarius rising, Saturn will be in the third house of teaching, of learning new skills, of the thought process, siblings, neighbors in the neighborhood, and short journeys. Saturn at this time, I can see like a lot of, Sagittarius rising, like their local events and places where they were learning locally, probably being kind of shut down and restricted at this time because of this shelter in place that's occurring. So I was thinking, maybe they're feeling these restrictions of their learning right now, and those places that probably have shut down needs to be online and needs to think about their own future, their own future advancements. But this can also have them restructure on what they may want to teach, because Sagittarius is another teaching sign. So, having being able to like learn a new skill, something new that is going to be able to kind of bring even the locals together. Like maybe they want to learn something and to teach to the local neighborhoods, because this rules that third house of like that immediate local, like their outside environment pretty much. And then I was thinking, so they can become like the master teacher. I was also thinking, just disciplining themselves and learning, maybe short trips being canceled or some sort of relocation, because this is a house of relocation. Um,
Saturn acts like a inspector in the chart. And because the third house could be talking about the social networking, I feel like Saturn comes here to inspect your immediate relationship with others. Who you are networking with, and seeing whether you gain from their information or actually not.
Yeah.
I think that could be very, very important for Sagittarius rising. And let's not forget that Saturn does rule the second house here as well, which is pretty much related with your self-value as well as your financials. If you are thinking about, for instance, going online and then using the social media as a platform to make more money, then you might be experiencing that the result is going to be coming in slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Saturn is all about enjoying the process rather than jumping, to conclusions and wanting the results straight away. And we know that Sagittarius rising has got the tendency of a little bit of a greed, So Sagittarius rising people try to enjoy the process rather than, it's all about the brilliant ideas and it's all about being very opinionated. Saturn comes here and then gets you to do a reality check. Saturn doesn't want to waste time. So you might feel an unusual pressure to structure your time. Third house rules your diary. So having a look if you are smart about it or not. How do you feel about Capricorn rising people? I'm sure they're going to be a little bit more delighted because eventually Saturn is going to be leaving their first house. And I know plenty of Capricorn rising people were struggling the last 2.5 years. So probably they could breathe up a little bit. But how do you see that?
My goodness. I know a lot of Capricorn rising people too. And just that stellium is it's hard. It was hard on everyone, but especially, the Capricorn risings. So this is happening in the second house of finances, earnings, stocks, assets, value, self-worth. Saturn was just in the first house, so now that it's moving into the second house, it may have you restructuring your values, restructuring what you're putting your money, your attention, your focus into, and does it align with the new self that has emerged from Saturn being in the first house. So have you reevaluating what you're investing in, how you're investing not only your money but your time and your energy. Because at the end of the day, Capricorn is one of those most goal-oriented signs. And, Saturn here just may have you figure out okay, maybe I need to pull back this money from here or invest into this, when we were talking to Chris yesterday and she brought up stocks and investing in the techie companies, that's kind of goes in line with this because of Saturn in Aquarius in the second house. So, if you're going to plan on making any moves with your money, Saturn definitely wants you to triple check, especially being here, making sure that, it's not going to be a loss or that it's only just pretty much going to be gains for your future, and to set a solid financial foundation. Um, so things may feel a little restricted. You may even have to take on another way of making money at this time, but it's only to set, kind of complete or reach that goal that, as a Capricorn, I'm sure, you have it on a list somewhere. So that's what I was thinking about, the Saturn in the second house. And then
Saturn in traditional approach is pretty much associated with financial loss in the second house. But in my opinion, it's not necessarily true, because I think Saturn is coming here to review how effective you were, with with your financial level, up to date. Yeah, the gains might be coming slowly. And we know with the Saturn, the unfolding doesn't happen immediately. I also believe the purpose of this transit is to make a connection between your own feelings of self-worth and actually what you produce in the real world.
mm-hmm.
Because if you produce something real, I can't see why Saturn wouldn't give you reward here. And by the way, I know rich people who have got Saturn in this. It came in the second part of their lives, but they became, I know someone who won the lottery, for instance, with Saturn being in the second house. That's another question, whether the money is still around or not,
Right.
because Saturn doesn't want to waste it. And also, I believe that Saturn wants to tell you here that you don't need to reach out for validation. You need to validate yourself first. And think about Uranus squaring from the 5th house, which is the house of self-expression. Feel free to stand up for yourself and, tell people what you really think about what you have been producing. Saturn works hard. And then the question is, what do I get in return?
I love that you brought up the self-worth, because I wrote that because Uranus is in the 5th house and Taurus, the sign of self-worth, and aligning yourself to that, break free from, believing that maybe you weren't worth what you want. And, connecting with that will help you, create whatever it is that you want to create and be able to receive the gains from that. Because just like you said, like if it's Saturn just wants, the truth. He wants something that's going to help everyone, but that's going to be practical. And I feel like once Capricorn really like sees how maybe like a stubborn belief or thought in their head was probably stopping their financial gains, but if they connect to that self-worth and that heart chakra, 5th house, Leo house, and really see what they want to create in this life, then they'll be able to connect to their purpose and reach and receive those rewards.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a look at Aquarius rising, people.
So Aquarius, this is happening in the 1st house. So the 1st house is, the self, identity. From an esoteric point of view, is the soul, which I've always connected to. So, and then also like Saturn rules that 12th house for them. So I feel like Aquarius is, with Saturn here, Saturn wants control. So maybe just getting in control of yourself. Aquarius seems, is the most authentic but unconventional sign, so Saturn here just may want some structure within, just making sure that they're built on a foundation that's going to be, that, just checking all aspects of their life with this 1st house placement, making sure that everything is in place, or at least as good as it can be in these times as well. I was going to say that Aquarius is about, future thinking, but Saturn is traditional, so, Saturn may make Aquarius, even though Aquarius is already kind of distant, make them more reserved. just to get like a sense of stability within themselves, and just understand what their own karmic lessons are in this life, especially with Saturn again ruling that 12th house of the unconscious. They may, things may have been revealed within the past 2-3 years that Saturn was there. And now they're really like kind of restructuring themselves out of what they've learned from, something that happened that made them aware of something that maybe help, had them self-sabotage themselves, or just, continue on that self-undoing path. And Saturn came along and just, kind of made them more responsible and mature, and they still are working on that because then when Saturn goes into the second house, they're able to like they have themselves ready, and then they can focus on their financials and getting that, kind of on a solid foundation. Uranus is in Taurus in the 4th house. So, something could have shake up their roots and make them, kind of feel unstable. So this could be just, again, a great time to have, just reach stability, or at least see how you want to, maybe set up new goals for yourself, new structures for yourself because of what's happening around you. Maybe something going on in the family and the home life that's a little shaky, and you kind of set yourself with the idea and the goal that this is not going to happen in the future, and how you can restructure your life so that it can, you can be solid, rooted, and stable.
We are at the beginning of Saturn transit in the sign of Aquarius, and Aquarius people can really feel frustrated with themselves. Now, the first house is the physical body. In many cases, actually, Saturn brings loss of weight, for instance, when it goes through the first house. And I'm sure Leslie and myself are really looking forward to, for Saturn to enter our first house, which is going to be happening in 2.5, 3 years' time. Probably we're going to get very skinny, I'm hoping. But anyway, I think Saturn in the sign of Aquarius in the first house is requiring you to look into the mirror and then see where you can make those changes. To interpret the first house is one of the hardest one, because usually it talks changes in your environment, and usually on every kind of level. So, this could be an excellent time, for instance, to create some new health regimes, a diet. But first house talks about your likings and dislikings as well. What do you like, within your life? That's what you should be pushing. What you dislike is all about emotionally detaching yourself from those. By looking into the mirror and seeing yourself clearly, and seeing not only what you want to see, but also what you don't want to see. That's the whole idea here. And as Leslie mentioned, you already received, or you already had a grasp on that in the last 2.5 years, because Saturn was trying to make you face your weaknesses. Now it's about time to turn those weaknesses into something positive. It talks about the outlook on your life as well. Take that serious, be responsible about that. And then Aquarius, as it rules future, you just lay the foundation to for your future. It is a great time actually to reach out for others as well. And you might be getting your validation from others, because in the last 2.5 years, you lived a little bit of a secluded life. Now, Aquarius is all about reconnecting with maybe old friends. Saturn actually rules in the chart the ex-husband, exes, basically. But in Aquarius, it might be talking about the ex-friends you used to get along with. Think about why those relationships are finished in your life, and then you might be able to make some attempts, to get those people back in your life.
Mm-hmm. I could see that with kind of cleaning up, like your habits from the 12th house. You could probably see that maybe you're the one that were pushing these people away, and they're coming back.
Yes.
Okay.
And we got to Pisces, and we both have got Pisces rising sign. So I'm really curious about your intake on Saturn in the 12th house because we are just experiencing as we speak.
I wrote one word out really hugely on my paper, and it was sleep.
Okay.
No, I wrote a bunch of notes, but dang, like that's the first thing that I felt, and it just feels like a weight of responsibility. And, Pisces is the dreamer, Pisces is, just a kind of like a sleep sign, it's a water sign. And so, Saturn here, the way that it's at least is making me feel is like, we can wake up a little earlier and we can get some things done. Like, look at what we can do throughout the day. It's almost bringing restrictions to my sleep, because it's almost, because if I do oversleep, I probably would feel guilty about it. So Saturn is really making us mature, in seeing how we also undo ourselves, and sleep could definitely be one of those self-undoing habits. If you do it too much, then you don't get to your goals, you don't get to bring your dreams from the dream world into real life and manifest it into fruition. So the 12th house rules the unconscious, hospitals, faraway lands, spiritual renewal. So yeah, Saturn here can kind of be purging those habits that just no longer serve you. Before, this is the last house of the zodiac. It's the last house on the wheel. And so it talks about, like, getting all of our, Saturn has been throughout the whole map and has been restructuring here and there, finances and friendships and partnerships. And now it's just like, all right, what's left? What's left to heal, to mend, to structure, to fix, especially because Pisces, our opposition is Virgo, so it's like, so we need to incorporate more perfecting into our lives, because sometimes Pisces can be in that dream world, in that la la land. So Saturn will probably just bring us in face to face with reality, with our unconscious habits, and how we sometimes we don't make these decisions. It's just part of our patterns, and we should start making better decisions on how to utilize our time, how to utilize our energies, and probably kind of working on that in the dark, because the 12th house is hidden, so Saturn could really have us for the next 2.5 years working consciously on restructuring our patterns and our habits, so then when it gets to that first house, we can be ready to receive some sort of rewards, or just to drop that weight, or to because it's all part of the a part of the mind, so maybe by the time Saturn gets to that first house, we've already released any unconscious baggage that has limited us from getting to where we want to be physically in the body. So yeah, that 12th house just makes me feel like it's just like tying up those loose ends, really making sure that we have all of ourself figured out, the self, before it gets back to the self, it's all the stuff that's going on in our minds, and the different deeper levels of our minds that we probably we're just not aware of. And then with Uranus, Uranus in the third house, the third house being ruled by Taurus for us, can give us a little bit of a stubborn mind sometimes, so Uranus can be liberating us from stubbornness or laziness or forward thinking or future thinking. And so it will kind of work hand in hand with that Saturn being in the 12th, because again, it's like the third house is that conscious mind, and the 12th is our unconscious patterns. So maybe something will awaken us, and we'll be able to see something really clearly, like, oh, I've been thinking like this for a long time. Let me work with that Saturn in the 12th and the unconscious to really like reconfigure my internal wiring. That's what I was thinking about that. How do you feel?
Oh, it's hard to stay impartial, to be honest. But what came to my mind is that the 12th house is in many cases called as the self-undoing. And I do remember someone once asked on the Facebook page, what does self-undoing mean? And that's a very, very good question, because in my opinion, 12th house is the house of junks. You tend to be sweeping and on everything under the carpets, which you think you don't need to deal with. And it all goes into the 12th house. Now Saturn comes around and then wants you to sort that junk out, you know, and it wants you to only keep the bare minimum. And that's one of the other reasons why 12th house is associated with endings, because you actually get into an end of a 29, 30-year cycle. So if you manage to throw away all those junks, what is holding you back really, then it's going to be the most revealing experience for Pisces rising sign. And the sooner you do that, the sooner you're going to be feeling that. It is really about the preparation, maybe with some hibernation at the same time for future development. Of course, this can be very lengthy. It could be a long process, but probably one of the most rewarding experience. Probably this is not the great time to start new things. Probably it's all about dealing with the loose ends, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Also, 12th house is associated with karma. So therefore, Saturn can be a reminder here of following your true calling. And facing your fears, and especially your weaknesses. 12th house rules weaknesses. And by secluding yourself from the society to a certain extent, and then looking deep, you know, what is happening behind the scenes, which is very much again a 12th house energy. Yes, that's why I really think that.
I imagined, you know, like Saturn going through his cycle through all the houses and finally getting to the 12th house and having to turn on the light, you know, and being like, look at this mess, you know? But if you face it head on, you really can get to the other side, you know? So it really is about facing those weaknesses, getting real with yourself and what is buried, you know, what we have buried underneath that carpet for so long, to really, when it comes to the first house, is like we're going to be ready to, you know, just, you know, take on more responsibilities that is aligned with us, and we're going to be able to, you know, work it through and see it through, because we've kind of let go of habits that weren't allowing us to you know, just be successful in many ways.
Yes. You know, if I want to summarize how to handle a Saturn transit, Saturn, just a couple of keywords to Saturn. It's all about caution. It's all about moderation. If you want to be able to handle this hard aspect, then you know what, just accept it. Go with the flow. Don't fight Saturn, because eventually Saturn comes and then bites you. You can postpone, you know, a little bit. You can gain some, let's say, you know, you can gain some time not to face those things, but eventually, you know, things are going to be coming around. Saturn, yes, it's all about slower speeds. You know, things, wherever Saturn is in your chart, it moves like a snail. So, you know, it's not going to be fast. It's not really about Mars, which is just pushing energies through. Saturn wants you to work on that house and sign whatever it touches. That's why he is the planet of here and now. That's why he is the planet of inspection. You know, just imagine that you are at the border, which is again Saturn, and then the person on duty is asking to hand your passport over. You know, they're going to be checking whether you're a criminal. That's exactly what Saturn does as well. It's going to be checking what you have done so far to accomplish your karmic experiences. Because I usually say that Saturn is like a compulsory literature. You have to book his book. You can't just pass it by, basically. Well, it was a lovely chat, Leslie.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much for shedding a little bit of a light on Saturn in each houses and signs, and I'm hoping that the audience is, has got a little bit of an idea now what to pay attention to, especially in the next 3 months. You guys shouldn't be forgetting that Saturn is going to be revisiting actually the Capricorn energies for another 4 or 5 months from July onwards.
Mm-hmm.
But then eventually, at the end of December, Saturn finally is going to leave the sign of Capricorn. So in the next few months, actually, you are getting a taste of what's coming in the next 2.5 years, basically from 2021 onwards. So we are living a very exciting, well, we are living in a very sad, but at the same time exciting times as well. Keep your hopes up because we're going to get out of this.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We all should be doing the self-work. Let's focus on the self-work and healing, and we have a little bit of extra time on our hands, so if we can do some more meditation. And I was actually thinking about, briefly talking about crystals, but I would like to make a video about that separately. But if you guys have like dark crystals at home, those are best for grounding at this time. And Saturn rules the color black, and it's about grounding and restructuring. So, if you want to go ahead and meditate with that, that's just a tip. Crystals have different, elements and, different ways of helping, but that's just for general purpose. But yeah, just get back to yourself, and understanding self is the main mission of life. So if we can do that and help, and just know that everything is symbolic timing, and even if we're feeling some sort of pressure, it's only for us to step up and mature and face our realities and face our karmic lessons. So once we see it from that perspective, we can look at things objectively and just focus and put our attention to what needs to be taken care of at the time.
Thank you very much, Leslie, for sharing your wisdom. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you for everyone to join us. I hope you enjoyed it. And then if you like the video, don't forget to press like, subscribe to the channel as well. So show some support so that we can come back and then produce some more valuable information for you through technology. Aquarius season, right? So have a lovely evening, everyone, and see you later, Leslie.
See you. Bye-bye.